Hello, I'm Danny. I'm the Director of Product Development over here at Boon. And what I want to show you all is some nice use cases for post-production for all the ML that we can offer. So to start, I just want to show like how we brought in some of this information and stuff like that. So we have all of the footage from a production shoot for a rooftop tent commercial. So the first thing I did is just got all the footage off of the cameras, dumped it into a bucket, and then brought it into our system. So we'll look at these data sources. This is how we bring in footage. And, super simple, gave it a name, told it where all the footage is, and then from here I chose all of my ML. So you can see we offer a lot of different things, and all of this stuff is going to help with a lot of the metadata and contextual things that are going to be really helpful in post-production and solve a lot of people's problems. So I'm not going to go through anything, but we'll just talk about sort of like some general ML that I chose for this. So we have explicit detection, which is great to make sure that you're not accidentally bringing in cuts with bad things. This is going to do like nudity, gore, things like that. It'll tell you whether or not you have some dicey content. We have label detection. This will give you a general classification of the footage. For example, this is outdoors, or it's in a movie theater, or people on the beach. We did logo detection. This is really great. It will go through and it will detect logos from major brands. Object detection, this is similar to label, but what it's going to do is detect actual like individual objects within your footage. So for example, it will find a bicycle and tell you where it is in the clips, or fire hydrant, everyday objects and things like that. And then the two other big ones are speech transcription. It's going to go through and it's going to transcribe all of the audio so you know exactly what was said in all of your clips, and it will read any text within the frames. And then we're going to go through, we store all that metadata, and then we make it usable so you can search it and find your footage. So let's jump over and look at our footage and start to kind of go through some of these post use cases. So the major one, right, is you're an editor, you're going through, maybe you're marketing, and you just want to find stuff. It was shot, maybe it was on a witness cam, or it's B-roll, or like the Dailies Lab didn't treat the slates correctly. You just want to find some footage. So this is footage from a rooftop tent commercial. So we can assume at some point somebody wants to find tents. Awesome, we were able to do that. It's really great. If we click on this footage, I'll pull this up. You can see here we are. Here's somebody with the tent. It's getting set up. And we're able to do those searches and find this because we're indexing all that metadata. And you can see here that the object detection picked up that there is a tent. So there you go. Super straightforward. You can find everything. The other thing is, everyone loves animals. Let's find dogs. Great. Awesome. We found all the clips of dogs. Pretty straightforward stuff. Nothing earth-shattering here unless you're an editor and you've had to do this and you've had to mine thousands of hours of film to go find that one B-roll shot of a dog because they needed it for marketing or something like that. Now we can dial this in a little more. So let's say I'm looking for a shot and I want shots about tents, but I don't actually want to see tents. I just know that, at some point one of the actors was talking about a tent in an interview, and I want to find everywhere where tents are being talked about. So I can go through and grab the GCP speech to text metadata and do a specific filter on that and look for tents. So now what this is doing is I'm specifically searching on only metadata from speech transcription, and now I can find everywhere where the word tent was mentioned. And a really cool thing we're doing here is that any of this metadata that comes back from these providers that has time codes associated with it, we're preserving that, and then we're going to put it all in a timeline. So right here, I can jump to any of these points in the video, and I can see that this person is talking about tents. And I'll go ahead and another nice thing is when we do speech transcription, we just generate a closed caption file, which is really great because you can actually download that and use that in your workflow. Or it's just really nice for this interface. So I will pick the correct one. I will turn it on. Oh, I chose the wrong one. This is AWS. Here we are. So here you go. You can see that right here in this clip, they're talking about the rooftop tent. Okay, the other really nice one is, again, this is like for more of your marketing stuff. Let's say you went through this shoot and there's a partnership with a brand. We'll go with Toyota. There's a bunch of different vehicles, but we'll just go with Toyota here. You go ahead and search for Toyota. And from these clips, the Google machine learning is able to go through and find the logo from within the frames. So now we can go through and all of this footage, you know, if you've got a partner or something like that, and they come back and they say like, oh, we want to see like every time our product was somewhere within this footage, it's really easy to go in and now you can just pull all of that footage instead of having to like, you know, have a bunch of your PAs or interns like mine through all this stuff and trying to find all of this. So, okay, we've got our Toyotas, right? The next thing is you might have a lot of Toyotas, but when you're being asked to put together these shots, you know, like, for example, Toyota probably doesn't care about this shot of the vehicle sitting in the driveway getting ready to go. You know, they want to see it out there, like, you know, being adventurous, things like that. So I'm going to look for any of the shots that have Toyotas in an off-road setting. Here we can grab this clip, and this is probably more what that client is going to be looking for, right? Like here's the Toyota, it's looking very adventurous. It has the rooftop tent on top. This is great. It was able to find that, again, because it did the logo detection. And then if we look at some of the label detection, you can see that it's being labeled as an off-road vehicle. It's off-roading right now. You know, it even is as specific as saying it's in four-wheel drive. So you get all of that really nice contextual data about all of this stuff, and you can start to put together really meaningful searches and find all this footage that potentially could be a huge time suck. Okay, now, and this is one of my favorites. This is near and dear to my heart. Spent lots of time writing code around the Baileys process and things like that. So let's say, you know, for whatever reason, this footage came in and maybe it didn't get tagged correctly or things like that based on your slates. We can just go ahead and start searching for those. So I will look for scene DLU. If we pull up this clip, you can see here that the text detection that's going through and just basically reading all written text from every frame is able to actually read off of those slates. So this wasn't processed. We don't have any additional metadata. This was just raw footage directly off the cameras. And now I can search through all of the slates and find any information that's on the slate. So this is great. We got scene DLU. Now let's look for DLU shot 009. Here we go. We've got DLU 009. We'll pull this up. You can look at it like, oh, is this not working? Like, what's going on here? I don't see a slate. So I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to dive a little deeper. We can see the flags that, oh, the slate's at the end. And we'll go ahead and play it. I believe in you. There we go. Right here, you can see that somebody on set during production just forgot to slate this shot, and they had the tail slate at the end. If you're familiar with all of this, you know that if you forget to slate at the front, you run the slate at the end of the clip upside down to signify that it's a tail slate, and this is about the previous footage. What's amazing here is that the ML is able to read scene DLU shot 009 on an upside down tail slate. So hugely powerful to just take all of this footage in its raw form, slice it on a bunch of different facets, and now you've got like incredibly powerful search and really good context about all of your footage. Okay, does anyone have any questions about those post-production use cases? Annie.
So Danny, you mentioned that this is near and dear to your heart. Can you tell us about pre-Boon AI, how what would be the process without in your previous jobs without this, and why this saves so much time?
Yeah, so what's happening is when you're shooting all day, all these clips are coming off. They're going to a Dailies lab for processing and things like that, and somebody is having to watch all of these clips and then manually write down all of the metadata associated with the clip. Lots of times that just is prone to human error, and it does not work correctly, which means things are tagged correctly, shots are lost, and then what you have to do is go through and try to find, okay, where did it go wrong? Why did somebody write DLV instead of DLU? All of that sort of thing. So it's really nice for one, if you're looking for footage that may have been tagged incorrectly, or the idea that you could actually automate this process and use this to actually go through and programmatically connect the correct slate information to each of these clips. Oh, Anna, you got more questions?
Yes, I do. So it sounds like sometimes marketing or someone from another group would come and just ask you for random things. And how does this solve that?
It's all about searchability, and it's such a common ask where marketing it just needs to put together a trailer, or potentially there's like international social where somebody who's kind of disconnected from the process needs, they need, okay, I need this shot because it's really, really big in this market and I know that exists, like somebody needs to find it for me. Those sort of marketing requests just come in all of the time. It's really big for sequels too, where, let's say you're on like number 9 in a franchise, marketing will come back and say, oh, for this campaign, like we're really looking for, can you find us all those shots of that actor from the 5th movie? Because it works into this campaign for whatever reason. And it's just all about searchability. So you're not using, like your highly skilled human hours, just mining through footage, trying to. Mark.
Danny, can you talk a little bit about the time it took from, let's say, once the footage was captured and actually in a cloud bucket to to be able to be at the point where you can start searching for results? How long of a process was that for you, and how does the amount of footage lengthen that? If I have an hour versus 30 hours of footage.
Yeah, so for all the machine learning, it's going to be this factor of it's directly related to the length of the content. So a half-hour video is going to scale pretty linearly. It will take twice as long as a 15-minute video. And then it's really about like how many of these different ML analysis you want to run is just going to increase your time. So we do a process when we start to work with clients where we'll do a small batch of material. We run a lot of different ML against it, and then we start paring down to figure out exactly what we really need to get the results they want. And what that really does is it's going to decrease the amount of processing time and decrease cost as well. But it's really nice to get down to like whittle it down to everything you need. And then it's just really a variable on that. It can be anything from real time where you're processing an hour video in an hour to maybe 3 or 4x real time. But we generally see that the results will be ready by the next day. If in that sort of production span, footage comes in, it should be searchable and ready to go the next morning.
Great, thanks.
Okay, great. Are there any more questions before we wrap up? No, great. Okay, thanks for coming. And if anyone has any additional questions, you can always email us at hello@boonai.io.